Ladies and gents, PepperBelly here, and welcome to some Rocket League. This game is insanely fun. I've been playing it immensely for the last 2 days, and by immensely I mean like 6 hours. But still, I've been enjoying it a lot lately. This is a game I've been seeing a lot of on Twitch, and I've been, watching my favorite streamers, playing some Rocket League, and it looked like a hell of a lot of fun. It looked like a game I really wanted to get into. And I was kind of on the fence about it still. I don't know really why. I was kind of just like, I don't know if I want to spend the, even though it was like $20 super cheap, I didn't know if I wanted to buy it. Like, I wasn't sure if I was going to play it enough or I was really going to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed watching it. And like, it looked good. Has pretty graphics and everything. And I was really interested in playing it. So I finally bit the bullet. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to buy it and play it. And I mean, thank God for Steam refunds, right? Because if need be, I can just get a refund very easily. Like, play it 2 hours and then be done with it. Well, I am not going to be asking for a refund at all, because this game is, like as I said, insanely fun. It's just like, it's addicting. I can't even explain it. Unless you have actually played it, you probably kind of get it. And you can actually kind of get the feel of the game too just by watching people. It's like, it's such a competitive type of weird sport, like, with rocket cars. Like, it's so much fun. There's no other way to explain it. It's got amazing graphics. It looks freaking phenomenal. Has really interesting customization. Even though I'm not a huge fan of all the hats and weird stuff, but I mean, hello, if you want that kind of stuff, you want to be goofy and whatever, it's totally available and at your fingertips. Now, naturally, the first thing I did upon starting up the game was jump into the tutorial, because I know it's not going to be an easy game. It doesn't seem like an easy game. When you're playing it initially, it's like, okay, this game looks like it's got to take some skill and finesse, right? It can't just be that easy. And as soon as you start the game, it immediately recommends that you plug in a 360 controller or something equivalent to play the game, because it'll be a better experience. So, me being stubborn, I didn't. I was like, hell no, man, keyboard mouse. That's what I'm gonna do. So that's exactly what I did. I played the entire tutorial with the keyboard and mouse, and then I swapped to the controller just to see how it was, if it really was any better. And how do I say this? For me, it's not. Simple as that. Like, the controller has benefits that a mouse and keyboard doesn't, but at the same time, since I find when you're using like WASD keys and whatever, it's more angular versus being like an analog, right? It's way more specific in the directions in which you like pull off moves and attacks and whatnot, that for me, it's way more precise. So I play with a mouse and keyboard. I'm way better with a mouse and keyboard than I am with a controller. Because I tried going to a controller and it's like, although I can do kind of decent, and it lets you have a little bit more control when you're actually jumping in the air, because on a controller, you have the analog stick, and the analog stick doesn't control your throttle, right? You have the triggers which control your throttle. On keyboard and mouse, you have no choice. Like, the WASD is your gas turning and everything, and it's also your aerial control. So if you're flying in the air, obviously you can control yourself how you actually, like, the trajectory in which you're flying. It's a lot harder to do that. There's a lot of times you'll forget and you'll keep holding down W, even though it's like, and you'll start doing front flips and you crash, and it's like, whoops, I forgot I'm not supposed to do that, because when you're in the air, everything is kind of like seamlessly integrated into the same control scheme. It's like, picture having the right trigger and left trigger, your throttle, also being your like tilt, your horizontal and vertical axis, whatever controls, which it's I don't know, it's weird. So that's one of the benefits that a controller has. But for me, it's like, I don't like having to take my thumb or any of my fingers off of the controls. And when you're playing with the keyboard and mouse, everything is within, like, every single possible thing you can need to touch, your fingers are covering. Because like the boost and jump is on your left and right mouse button, and everything else is like on your keyboard. That's readily accessible. It's like right there, versus a controller where you have to like kind of move your right hand to like, or your right thumb to adjust between the 4 different buttons to like, for boost or jumping or whatever. It's like a little bit less hands-on, I guess you could say. It's kind of weird to explain. I don't know, there's obviously pros and cons to both. And for me, I prefer just having a mouse and keyboard. One, it's simpler and easier to navigate menus and whatnot, and for me, I play better with it, so hell yeah. The point I'm trying to make is that the game runs amazing on a mouse and keyboard. So a lot of people out there would be like, no, you have to get a controller. It's like playing Assassin's Creed. You have to get a controller. It's like, hell no, man. For this game, if you really want to use... That was a ridiculous goal, by the way. See that shit? Anyway, if you want to use a keyboard and mouse, it is more than viable. And that's something I'm actually very happy about. because I was very concerned whether or not it was actually going to be something I can actually use efficiently. Because when I play games like Grand Theft Auto or any other driving game, it's like, sure, I can drive with a keyboard and mouse pretty damn well. So I was curious for Rocket League, even though it requires like a lot more, you know, you're jumping, you're using rocket boost, you're flipping through the air, and you're doing all these crazy aerial acrobatics to like hit the ball. There's like a lot of precision required. I was curious whether or not a keyboard would actually be a viable controller option in the game. And it is. So, happy to report that. Now, another thing that tends to follow when you're talking about Rocket League is something very simple. It's a pretty common topic. Esports. The game. Is it viable for esports? I think that goes without saying. Just watching the game, it's insanely competitive. There's a lot of teamwork involved, and hell yes, it should absolutely be an esport. This game is highly competitive and feels very much like a game that belongs in an esports scene. Absolutely. And with the recent update that came out, they've added spectator modes and different types of ways to actually allow for free cams to follow and spectate more properly, which again is going to assist in the ability for this game to actually become an esport should it want to, which is more or less up to the community. It has nothing to really do with the developers. I'm pretty sure the developers would love to see this game become an esport. Whether or not it would actually be getting anywhere near as big as something like Dota or Counter-Strike Global Offensive, who really knows? But I honestly think it has the potential to be along those lines. I really do. Playing this game, it's like, I would love to see this game become as big in the esports scene as Dota and CSGO. It would be amazing to see teams competitively playing with a large prize pool of cash, because we all know playing for money is pretty great, especially when you win it. Like, we all know the international $7 million prize pool is pretty crazy, right? Like, it's ridiculous. The international, how much money those teams make. Considering the lowest payout for a team was $54,000. In the international this year that just went by, that just happened not too long ago, the minimum payout was $54,000. So it's like, you go to these events, you're guaranteed money. So, well, Dota anyway. CSGO is a little different. The prize pool was like $250,000 or something. And like, that's pretty sad in comparison. Honestly, that kind of bugs me. But for Rocket League, this is a game I would love to see become the equivalent of Dota and CSGO in the esports scene. Just because it's like, it has immense potential. And looking at it on Steam, it's actually one of the most played games, which is fantastic. There's like, what, 30,000 people playing roughly? Like, there's an actual count in-game as well that you can look at. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's up there. I don't know if the game is actually available on any other platform outside of Steam, because the player count in-game doesn't really match the Steam numbers, which that's why I'm kind of curious. But there's a lot of people playing. Like, when there's 20,000 people playing one specific game mode and there's like another 30,000 playing like across all the other game modes, like, there's a lot of people playing this game. So it's pretty popular, and with good reason, because it's insanely fun, as I said many times throughout this video. So if you're on the fence, like I was initially, if you're like kind of sitting there going, well, I don't know, it looks cool, it's interesting, it's kind of a strange concept that I'm not too, you know, particularly enlightened or super hyped up over, give it a try. You got Steam refunds, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You can just buy the game for like $20 or your regional equivalent, and then you just try it out. It took me about 2 hours to figure out whether or not I wanted to keep it, and considering that's the grace period, 2 hours, 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure even if you did play a little bit more than 2 hours, Steam would be willing to give you a refund anyway if you gave them a good enough excuse. You're like trialing the game, tutorials, all that kind of stuff. It does take up some time. It's on a case-by-case basis. We all know this, as per Steam's policies and whatnot. But I mean, it's a very solid game. Like, one of the most polished games I've played. So it works amazingly. It's insanely fun. It's rewarding, it's challenging, it's team-focused. It's exciting. It's like when you're watching an actual sport. I get all pumped up. I'm like screaming and losing my shit whenever I get certain goals, or whenever you see certain people pull off certain moves or certain team cohesive plays. It's like, it's such a satisfying experience, guys. And it's like the team play and everything is just, oh god, it's such a rewarding experience. So, as I said, got nothing to lose. Give her a try. 2 hours. Don't like it, get a Steam refund. And maybe we can form a team and we can play together or something, because I would love to play with some of you guys. My name is PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you guys on the next one.